What's up, everybody? Yellow. Welcome to the final video from our first customization slash DIY video, and slash giveaway, I should say. I finally received our gel coat, our UV coating for the cube. So I'm going to proceed to UV coat this bad boy. This is the Maylong 3x3 we've been working with. And so I have to say, I said the magnets were a little strong when I first put them in, and I'm starting to get used to it. I mean, I pick it up just about once a day and just feel what it feels like. And um, yeah, I'm digging it. I really do like it. I think with the added thickness and a little bit of weight that the UV coating is going to add, I think it's going to balance out just perfect. So yeah, let's get into it. Essentially, and I want to go over quickly what we've done so far, just to recap. So what we've done to this cube is we took the pieces apart, every single piece, and hopefully you can see it, we glued magnets into each piece. You can see one on each side. And all you do is you take all of your pieces apart and you take an edge and a corner piece of the same color. That's what matters really. Just take a piece of the same color, put them together, and put the magnets in. Keep your magnet stick going the same way the whole time. A lot of people put a piece of paper in one end so you know what the polarity of the stick going the whole time. But what you do is you just keep taking magnets off the same end, and if you keep putting them in and just magnetizing the next set of pieces off that same end, it'll all work out just fine. So essentially, yeah, you just take your edge piece and your corner piece that match up, really nicely when you lay them out. Put your pieces in with the glue, let them sit. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's a little more time consuming than you think, and you definitely want to put your first magnet in the edge piece, let it fully dry, and then put your second magnet in the corner piece, because it's a lot. And if the magnets get attracted to each other and get pulled out, it can be a huge mess, and you can get glue all over your cube. And it's just following everyone's tutorials where they put the edge magnet in, and then they use a helper magnet to hold it in place. They let that dry, and then they take the helper magnet and put that in the corner piece. That's the best way to do it, and give it a full hour or more to dry, especially using the cubicle glue. It takes a while to dry, but I will say it's very cool because it does have that foam layer that you can see. And I have to believe that they're right when they say that creates a shock absorbent layer around the magnet so you don't get loose magnets. Um, so yeah, that's where we're at. We've magnetized the cube. I think it came out really nice. I'm really happy with the job I did. I'm really excited for someone to get this cube. I mean, you can see it really like turns fast and nice, and this is way nicer than any Maylong I've ever felt. Yeah, you can see I just loosened it up a ton to take the piece out, but magnets are about perfect strength, I think, because you can overshoot it if you want, but if you just give it a nice flick, it's like perfect. So anyways, let's get to UV coating. I had a ton of people ask me about, let's do another UV coating tutorial, really in depth. So I'm going to go through this. I feel like I've given you kind of like choppy pieces in the past, like a piece at a time. And so I'm really going to go through the whole process with you. So what you need is you need your gel coat. You need, essentially, I cut up cardboard to insert between the pieces. And I don't know if you can see, but I use very thin cardboard. This is not like cardboard from a cardboard box. This is cardboard from like a cardboard, like a really thin cube box, or like just something like a really like no thicker than a credit card, essentially. And I do that because when you put the cardboard in between the pieces, if they're too thick, it starts to push your cube out like this. You can imagine when you get cardboard pieces in between every single piece, it starts to flex. Oops, the cardboard fell inside. But it starts to flex the cube out. And when you're trying to put on a nice level layer of gel coat, it's really bad to have an unlevel surface like that. So I found by using really thin cardboard, it keeps your cube really nice and flat and level, and you don't have any problems with it dripping or running or anything. So that's like my first biggest tip I can say is just and I have a bunch of these, cut up a bunch of very small cardboard pieces that can just be inserted in between the edges and the corners here. And that's really all you do. You just want it to make sure that there's no even if the gel coat gets in there, it's gonna get on that cardboard piece and not on the inside of the cube. So when you pull that cardboard out, it'll make sure that there's nothing in there. And that's the most important thing. So we're gonna go ahead and really, essentially what you should do first. So what else you need is alcohol. Just rubbing alcohol. 70 would be fine, but I use 91%. It's just what I have. And you just want to put a little bit on your paper towel. Doesn't need to be a ton. And you're just going to want to wipe down the whole cube. This is going to take any kind of like dirt and like just any kind of funky dust or anything off of the cube, and really make sure that yeah, that it's kind of like not sterile but clean enough. One second. Just need one more paper towel here. That's the other nice thing about the higher end or higher proof alcohol, is it evaporates really fast as opposed to staying wet. I guess that's the biggest advantage to the 91 or 99%, is that it evaporates nice and quickly on you. And we want to essentially try and get all your fingerprints. So I'm going to try and kind of like wrap the cube and really wipe it. Because if it's going to happen, and you're going to get fingerprints up, but if you can try and avoid it, that's best. So now we have our cube nice and clean. Again, I'm going to barely touch it just on the edges and corners, just to slip our cardboard pieces in. And you're just going to slide. A lot of times what I do is because it can be as the cube, if you have your cube too tight, or if you're using too thick of cardboard, you kind of want to come in from this bottom, from the bottom where like the pieces kind of like scallop together right there. It lets the cardboard slide in easy, and then you kind of come up from the bottom. That's the best way I can tell you. Like once you get more pieces in, it gets harder and harder to do that. And again, I realize I'm touching the cube on one side, but I can re-wipe that. It's really the side you're working on that you obviously don't want to mess with. All the rest can be re-cleaned. So I would say you just need 8 pieces, but that's not true. You need 8 for between the edges and the corners. And then you need another 4 pieces for the center. So this is where, as you can see now, I have 1 between every edge and corner piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and insert, this is again why the thin cardboard is so important, but I'm going to insert one in just kind of a funky angle, but right there. So that's going to keep, and I'm going to do that for each side of my center cap. So that's going to keep your center cap clean in between the pieces. It's going to keep it from getting down inside the cube. And honestly, what I usually do is I do 3 sides. So I have a way to brush it on, and at the last minute I'll slide that last cardboard in there. I found that just to be my little technique. Everyone will have a different way to do it. Some people are more systematic. Some people I have a little bit more methodical approach that I've kind of thought through just because I've done this a lot. Oh, and one thing too that I didn't point out is I bring out a lint roller and do my jacket, do the whole table. I even took a water bottle and sprayed the whole room so it would hopefully bind to any dust particles and make it fall. I have a dog and a cat, and so it's natural that you're going to get hair on things, but you don't have to have hair on you while you're doing it. So, and it's a bummer when you're doing a really good job and it's just kind of all of a sudden you find a hair in there and you're like, oh man, I got to redo that one. And this stuff, once it sets, it's really hard to change or to fix or manipulate after that. So you really want to do it right the first time. See, I could even see a little piece of lint. I mean, you want to be pretty anal about this part. I mean, honestly, like any little piece of lint or dust that you see, get it off. Like it's gonna show up when you brush it on, and it's gonna magnify it because it's gonna look like this big bump where it looks like nothing usually. So I usually do one last, like, actually I'll just take my same rag that I wiped down before, and I'll just do a quick. And I know I'm a little bit anal about all this, but like I feel like it pays off. And again, sorry for the kind of low lighting, but I'm trying to keep the lighting down while I do the UV coating, because you don't want it to start curing prematurely. So now we want to take our gel coat. This is a brand new bottle, so it's gonna be very full. So you're gonna want to wipe it off on the edge a bit. And then you're just gonna want to go in on the pieces. So just like you would, I don't know, brush someone's nails or paint someone's nails. Just want to put on a nice, somewhat level coat from edge to edge. And this is what's nice about this stuff, is it's self-leveling. So it doesn't look perfect right now. I don't really want to pick it up to show you, but there's a few brush strokes and whatnot. But over the course of the next 5 to 10 minutes, that's all going to go away and flatten out. So I'm just going to keep going so I can finish this side. I apologize for no like time lapse. But you can get kind of an idea of how long the process will take and everything, what it'll entail. This will be a very true to life video. And I've had this question quite a bit. Do I want to do a really thick coat and whatnot? And you want to do a thick enough coat so it has enough to self-level. If you put so little on that there's like dips and valleys, then it's going to have a hard time filling that. So don't be scared to put enough on to cover it, but at the same time, you don't want it to be so thick that you're going to add 10 grams to the weight of your cube. And I know that can kind of sound contradictory, but it's something you just kind of have to play with. And like I said, you can tell when the piece is covered. I mean, when the whole thing is covered and there's just a little bit of excess, that's kind of perfect, because like I said, that'll self-level, that will all even out. And yeah, we're already almost done with this first side. So as much as I made a big deal about, you know, how long it would take me or whatever, it's actually almost done. And you don't need to have any kind of like background in like cosmetology or like nails or anything. I just happened to have a friend who was a nail technician and let me use some of her equipment, and that's how I originally got started. And now I just do it. I don't even use actual nail equipment. I use a blacklight flashlight, and I use an LED flashlight, and that's what I use to cure. And it honestly works just fine. So it shows you that all of that extra stuff they sell you is kind of all extra. I mean, again, I had to buy the flashlight, so it's not like it was free, but it's just something I had laying around. Okay, now I think we have all of the pieces done besides the center cap. So I'm going to go ahead and do the center cap and then put my last cardboard piece in. And the center cap is the one where you kind of got to go slow and go, if you really want to get all the edges covered, you just want to go a little bit slower. And this is why I left that one piece of cardboard out, is because I kind of will wipe across the two pieces with the center and that piece, and then I'll slide the cardboard in right now, and that will keep them from binding. And that usually works pretty well. Okay, so here we'll kind of take a look here. You can see it's actually looking pretty good. I don't know if you can quite tell yet, but the fact that there's no ripples and weird things going on is a good sign. Get this set back up. Sorry about that. Okay, so this first side is looking pretty good, and it's so tempting to want to flashlight it or something. Oh, kitty, no, not today. It's so tempting to want to like take a flashlight or something to look at it and see how it's doing, but you kind of just have to trust that you put on enough. You put on enough to cover it. It's self-leveling right now. Again, you don't want to add extra light or heat at this point because that will start the curing process. You want to keep the lights pretty low. I'm even going to lower the lights more actually. And get my flashlights. So again, all I use, I don't use, in the first videos you'll see a nail lamp, which is totally fine. If you have that resource, totally use it. I don't anymore. Like I said, I was borrowing a nail lamp from a nail technician that I knew, and I just kind of was like, well, it's a UV LED light. This is UV, this is a black light flashlight, and this is LED. So I think this actually is UV and LED, but I just to be safe, I use both. Sorry, kitty, no. But yeah, so we're just gonna kind of sit. This is where I'm gonna pause the video and let some time go by. This is exactly what you don't want. This is why, like, spray the air, be overcautious with the lint roller because you don't want hairs falling into it at this point, because this is where it's not curing yet, but it's self-leveling, and if anything got into it at this point, I'd have to go in there and rebrush it and whatnot, and it's like already almost perfect, and it's only been like a couple minutes, so you really don't want to mess with it. If you give it another even just 5 minutes, it'll be ready. So I'm gonna do just that, and I'll check back in. Yeah, I'm not gonna keep you guys waiting, so see you soon.